It was a lovely spring day in April, and the Lanes and the Whittings were visiting the Merrybrooks in their pretty home. A beautiful quilt was being made for Diana Merrybrook's bed, and Natasha Lane and Hesper Whitting had come over to help with the quilting, for they were quite deft with a needle. Martha Merrybrook was not enjoying the afternoon. She had yet to hear from her dear friend Anthony Lane, Natasha's older brother, for some time. He was away at university studying anthropology, and she was waiting eagerly to hear if he would be able to come home for a summer break. "You really shouldn't worry, Martha," Natasha was saying. "He's probably been too busy with studying to write for pleasure. I haven't heard from him in several weeks." "We all know you miss him dearly," Dorcas joked, causing Martha to turn red. It was true. She had been quite infatuated with him for some time. Last Christmas she had even been sure that she loved him, but did he feel the same way? "I just wrote him last with several questions about his schooling. I had wanted to know more about the places he studies. That's all, Dorcas," Martha replied. Knowing glances were exchanged around the quilt, but no more was said on the subject. The conversation moved on to the new spring bonnets in the window of the market downtown, but Martha's thoughts were still on Anthony, so far away. She determined to run off to the post office as soon as her friends left. She would be just in time for the afternoon mail delivery. Suddenly from upstairs, a loud chorus of bickering erupted. "But we did chocolate last time," Craig was whining. "Why can't we do cherry instead? It's only fair." "It's fair because the rest of us want chocolate. That's why," Evelyn shouted. It seems making cookies was turning into a prickly business. Craig was hurt and angry, so he left and marched straight home ahead of his sisters, without even trying a single cookie, promising in his head that he would get back at Evelyn for her meanness. A short time later, the Whittings and the Lanes said their goodbyes and went to their own homes to start cooking supper. After a last farewell was said, Martha grabbed her shawl and ran almost the whole way to the post office. Unfortunately, the afternoon mail had gotten in early and was already out for delivery. Martha would have to wait at home for the mail, if in fact there was some. Long into the evening, Martha sat at the kitchen table, imagining all the things she and Anthony would do together when he returned home from school. Romantic walks under the apple trees, going to the soda shop together on Saturday afternoons, maybe even walking hand in hand to church on Sunday morning. But although she watched carefully, no mail was ever delivered. The next morning, Calliope arrived to play with Evelyn, and excitedly told Martha that Natasha had received a letter from Anthony the previous day. "He's coming home! Oh, we're all so excited to see him! He'll be here for the whole summer, maybe longer!" Martha's heart was shattered. "Does he not love me enough to send me a letter as well?" she thought, her sorrow showing on her face. Evelyn tried to make her sister feel better. "Take heart, Martha. Maybe your letter just got waylaid in the post. I've been waiting nearly a week for a package of new gloves, and it still hasn't arrived. I'm sure it will arrive today. Just you wait." Martha sat down, utterly beside herself. "How can you possibly compare a silly pair of gloves to a letter from someone so dear?" she asked in sorrow. For days, Martha held on to hope that perhaps a letter would arrive, but every afternoon no news came from Anthony. Did he ever love me at all? Perhaps I've only made it all up in my head, and Natasha and everyone else has been too kind to say that he didn't like me in return, Martha thought. But we spent such a lovely summer together last year, and I almost thought he did truly love me at Christmas when we danced together at the Yule Ball. Oh, I simply don't know what to think anymore. In times like this, one is often given to despair, doubt, and then anger. I don't think I could ever face him again if this is all true. I'm sure I would simply die if I ever saw him in person. But that's fine. There are plenty of other handsome men who are ready to fawn over me, like a true woman should be treated. Men who will write to me promptly. Or maybe I'll just never marry and I'll die an old maid." Martha burst into tears. Despite what she tried to tell herself, she had loved Anthony too long to try to give up hope now. A week later, the Lanes came for another visit. Martha had been dreading it, thinking Natasha would want to talk about Anthony, and after her trying so hard to forget about him. She needn't have worried, however, for there was another reason for the visit. Into the living room they came, Craig looking dour and sorrowful. "Why, Craig, whatever is the matter?" Diana asked the sad-looking boy. With a glance up at his older sister, Craig sheepishly began. "I was angry at Evelyn after our fight about the frosting. I knew she was waiting for a special package, so I hid it when I saw it had arrived with the afternoon post." A loud gasp was heard. "I came here to tell you I'm sorry, Evelyn. I shouldn't have hidden your new gloves all because of some chocolate frosting." "Oh, Craig, I'm sorry I was so mean about the frosting. Let's go make a cherry batch right now." "But wait," Dorcas interrupted. "Where did you hide the package, Craig? And did you hide all of the mail that came that afternoon?" "I'm sorry. Yes, I did hide all the mail, but I don't really remember where I hid it, though I promise I will look until the gloves are found. I promise, Evelyn," Craig said with determination. "I think I hid them in the kitchen, though I don't exactly remember where." Everyone searched through the kitchen, Martha with renewed hope that perhaps a letter from Anthony had been near her all the time. The chattering and laughter that filled the kitchen was interrupted by a loud, "Aha! Found it!" as Calliope held up a bundle of mail, having found it underneath several mixing bowls in a low cupboard. Everyone rushed to look through the mail. "My new gloves!" Evelyn cried in happiness. "My letter from Anthony!" Martha hollered in excitement. Everyone gathered around her to read over her shoulder. The letter read, "My dearest Martha, I am so pleased to tell you that I will be able to come home for summer break once my classes are over. If you don't mind, there is something of extreme importance that I wish to discuss with you as soon as I arrive home. I should be arriving May 10th on the 4 p.m. train. I hope you are well and thinking of me. Forever yours, Anthony Lane." "Oh, my goodness!" exclaimed Martha. "Why, today is May 10th!" And just then a knock was heard at the kitchen door. A very surprised Anthony was welcomed into the kitchen, amid lots of hugs, hellos, and how-do-you-dos. He was so happy to see his sisters and brother, but it was clear to everyone present that he was most excited to see Martha. "Oh, Martha, I see you got my letter. Do you mind if we speak for a moment in the living room together?" Martha was so astonished at this turn of events that all she could manage was a quick nod. From the door of the kitchen, Calliope, Craig, and Evelyn tried to hear the conversation that went on inside the living room. "Come, you three, let's move out to the garden for some tea," said Diana, intent on winning some privacy for Anthony and Martha. But just as she said this, Dorcas and Natasha put their ears to the door as well, both with gleefully guilty faces. "Don't you want to know the outcome?" Natasha teased Diana. "I certainly," Diana started, when a loud and happy, "Yes, I will," was heard ringing like bells from the living room. The door flew open, and a happy and relieved-looking Anthony moved aside to present his now fiancée, Martha Merrybrook, to the present company. The wedding date was set for a month hence, and each day was filled with joy-filled happenings and exciting preparations. Hesper, Diana, Natasha, and Martha worked together to sew a lovely bridal gown and veil, working late into the night as the date got closer and closer. The young girls offered to bake the wedding cake and were busy trying out recipes, and this time no quarreling was heard from the kitchen. Martha, of course, was very busy with the planning, but every evening after supper she and Anthony would walk together under the apple trees, talking about what lovers normally discuss, their new wonderful life together. The wedding day arrived in a whirlwind of flower, bubbles, and lace. Martha just couldn't believe it. She was marrying Anthony. Her arm was a bit sore from pitching herself. She wanted to be sure this wasn't a dream. All the girls got ready together in Martha's room, in front of the big mirror on the old dressing table. "Ah, you look like a queen," Hesper said in awe, as Martha stood in front of everyone. "We're going to be sisters," Natasha cried in joy. "I simply can't believe it." Martha almost didn't recognize the girl staring back at her in the mirror. "You look absolutely radiant," Diana chimed in, and... wait a moment, is something burning? In the kitchen downstairs, Evelyn, Calliope, and Beatrice stared at a burned cake, still smoking a bit from the oven. "Oh, no! Whatever will we do?" Evelyn cried, almost in tears. "This was to be my sister's most perfect day, and I have simply gone and ruined it." Take care, Beatrice chimed in. "It isn't as bad as all that. I hear that people can be so in love that they don't notice anything but their darling." "I think it would be rather hard to miss this," Calliope sighed, hammering the charred cake with a spoon. "Oh, what will we do?" Evelyn cried again. "There simply isn't time to bake another one." Just then Natasha came downstairs. "Girls, whatever is the matter? And what on earth is that smell?" But one look at the sad faces and burned cake pan answered her questions. "Have no fear, dears. We can make another one lickety-split." Tying an apron around her lovely dress, she called, "Now get me a dozen eggs from the hen house straight away. And how much butter do you have? We'll make the quickest cake in history." Soon everything was ready. The decorations had been hung, the cake was frosted, and down the stairs came Martha, with Diana following behind as her maid of honor, and little Calliope as her flower girl. Anthony was standing in front of the fireplace with Craig, his best man. I, Anthony David Lane, take you, Martha, to be my lawfully wedded wife. And I, Martha May Merrybrook, take you, Anthony, to be my lawfully wedded husband. A cheer was heard as they exchanged rings and faced their friends and family, now husband and wife. The party went on well into the evening, with every guest enjoying a lovely slice of cake with extra fluffy frosting on top. Goodbyes were shared, and happy farewells were called as Anthony and Martha walked into the night, set to leave on the last train from town. As Martha waved once more to her sisters and friends, she smiled and whispered to Anthony, "This was truly more beautiful than I could ever have imagined. And now here I am, Martha May Lane. I must be the happiest man in the world tonight, Martha. You must tell me, did you fret over what I had written when you received my letter? I can't tell you how long it took me to write it. I wanted it just right." Martha laughed. "Oh, Anthony, I didn't have even a moment to fret. It seemed like I got your letter, and then you were home." And with happy laughter they made their way to the train station, off on a most romantic honeymoon.